thing that was so not good. And that's Landon Sims. Landon Sims was spectacular. And then you get the dreaded reaction of immediately after a pitch, he stops, kind of looks at his arm, kind of shakes it a little bit. Trainers come out. He comes out of the game, and everybody fears the worst.
Mm-hmm. Especially when they show him in the dugout just bawling. I mean, yeah. you can't help but think it. But you're right in that State went out in that game, absolutely dominated, 19-2, just complete and total punishment for Tulane.
Hey, they had 1-0, and then 2-0, and then 6-0, and then 15-0.
Yeah,
I mean, just boom, boom,
pouring
boom,
on them.
Boom.
Everything's going, and so in my brain, I'm like, all right, so they're getting it figured out. They're figuring it out here. So when we talk about podcasts and what we're going to talk about on this show on Monday, it'll be okay. The offense came around and blah blah blah. And so Saturday, I went to the movies. I get out, and it's 10-2 Mississippi State on the Saturday game. And I'm like, okay, it's more of the same. And then a couple hours later,
I mean, hey, so I'm doing the Ole Miss broadcast, and I'm kind of following along the score, and I'm thinking, man, they figured it out.
Yeah,
they got it going. And offensively, I mean, I guess so. With 10 runs in that ball game, got a big lead, but then it started slipping. And there was a grand slam, and then there was a walk-off home run in extra innings, and all of a sudden it really changes about how you feel about the game. And then Mississippi State has a lead on Sunday. They're ahead 4-3 in the 7th inning. Tulane gets some action on the bases. Bases end up loaded. I think it was the bottom of the 7th. I think that's right. I was listening as I was driving to the airport. 4 walks, a hit batter, a single, a balk to bring in the tying run.
Yeah,
tied at 4, and then Tulane takes the lead in the bottom of the 8th inning, 5-4, and they hold off in the 9th. Mississippi State got a base runner in the 9th, but couldn't do anything with it. And Tulane wins 2 of 3, and 12 games and 3 weekends into the season, we're looking up, and Mississippi State is sitting there at 6-6.
6-6, unranked in Baseball America, 23rd in D1. I don't know why they're ranked. They're not playing like a top 25 team. They don't look like one. Landon Sims, we're going to ask Coach Lemonis when he comes on with us in just a bit. I don't know if he'll have an update or not, but all indications are he's out. He's out for the season, and he probably has thrown his last pitch for Mississippi State. And State's bullpen, for lack of a better word, is a bit of a train wreck. They can't get guys out, and even worse, they put guys on base for free. I think they had 11 walks in 10 innings is what it was this weekend. You can't live like that. You can't win baseball games like that. The only guy who got out, who was good, was Stone Simmons, who pitched a scoreless 8th inning, and everybody thought he was going to get the 9th, but they pulled him out to go to Parker Stinnett, who immediately gave up a couple of walks, and the next thing you know, the game is tied. So, 1 week, the first weekend, okay, they had a bad weekend. Second weekend's not great. Well, they're still figuring out the weather, blah, blah, blah. 3 weekends in a row, like I said on the podcast, that's a trend. You're starting to sort of think that's what this team is at this point. And now you've got these 2 games with Texas Tech. I have no idea who's going to pitch these games for State because they've got to bring somebody out of the bullpen to start on the weekend now. So I have no idea who that's going to be against a team that, what is Texas Tech's identity? It's mashing the baseball. It's what they've been under Tim Tadlock. So hopefully some of the sparks we saw from the offense will happen. And I will say this. When we talked about Mississippi State during the offseason, we said, look, their pitching is unproven, but they have proven hitters, so they may just have to outscore some teams. That may be what they have to do now. They have to outscore some teams, and those first 2 weeks have just sort of need to be the anomaly. But if the bats don't get going, this is going to be a rough patch for Mississippi State.
So we get a message on the C Spire text line. It's from Chase. He says, I don't think pulling Simmons on Saturday was the wrong move. Yes, hindsight, it didn't work out, but finding some arms you can count on to throw strikes and presser spots is more important than a single win against an AAC opponent. They've got good throwers. They just can't really pitch.
I mean, I just totally disagree. You had to win the series. You needed that series. You needed it. All right, if you want to give some guys some innings, do it on Sunday, but get the win on Saturday. You can't blow a 10-2 lead and write that off as player development. You just can't. You were up 10-2. You have to win the game.
And what, it was 10-3 going into the bottom of the seventh inning, and that's when Tulane struck for 5 runs and had the grand slam. Was it right after the grand slam when – no, Brooks Auger came in first.
Auger came in and got out of the inning, and then they gave – and Stone started the 8th.
Started the 8th. He pitches the 8th inning.
Right.
And gets a strikeout, doesn't allow a hit, doesn't allow a base runner. Faced 3 hitters, got him 1, 2, 3. Only threw 10 pitches. And then I guess you think you're handing the ball to Parker Stinnett to go close it out.
So in the postgame, that's what he said. He said that the plan was just to give the ball to Stinnett, and they felt like they made a mistake. Now, I've seen on some message boards, and hopefully, again, we can get some clearance that it's possible that Stone Simmons asked to come out, was feeling a little arm tightness, something like that. That's message board rumor. I don't have any confirmation on that.
Okay.
But if that's the case, that's one thing. But if it just pulled him out, then, yeah, they made a mistake because Stinnett hasn't been consistent all year.
Mississippi State got screwed yesterday. There was no balk. Bad way to give a game away. Saturday was no excuse for losing either. So I cannot speak to this. I was listening to the game when that happened. And I'm not throwing them under the bus.
Yeah, and I was waiting.
I mean, I get it. Jim Ellis said, I didn't see it. I was looking at the guys on base, trying to make sure that I had it right on my card. And Ron Polk said, I don't know what happened. And he guessed that maybe he separated his hands. I will say, if you're just watching online, a lot of times if you're watching in person, a balk can be so imperceptible. You can even watch a replay and go, what did he do? But, I mean, if there's the slightest flinch, if a guy starts to break his hands but then doesn't, starts to, stops, there's so many things that are so incredibly subtle with a balk that a lot of times when you watch, you're like, wait, I didn't see a balk there. So I don't know. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm not defending or anything else. I'm just saying I didn't see it. So if that's how you feel, Brad, then that's how you feel. Hey, Dad, I disagree with you. State didn't have to win this series. I agree that Stone Simmons should have stayed in the game, but honestly, they just left Walker in too long. If they pull him quicker, then it probably doesn't matter who pitches the 9th, because I don't think the grand slam happens, but this was not a must-win series. They got bats going. Maybe that will continue. Now they just need to get more out of pitchers.
I don't know what to tell this person. You've lost 2 of your first 3 series. You already have 6 non-conference losses. I'll say it again. You had 3 last year, and you were the 7th seed. I mean, never mind, being a national seed. You're struggling to even come up with a scenario to host at this point, because even that scenario involves you winning, 18, 19 conference games, maybe 17? How can you predict this team to do that watching the way they play right now? They definitely needed to win this series. They needed to sweep it, to be totally honest.
Yeah. And, I mean, I guess when you say it's not a must-win, it's not like they were going to be executed if they didn't win the series. So from that perspective, it wasn't must-win. I mean, they weren't facing life imprisonment. But when we talk about must-win, we're talking about in the context of it's a 56-game season, and there's some pretty clear benchmarks that you've got to hit to have the requisite number of wins and RPI and strength of schedule to put yourself in position to host a regional, because that's kind of the standard. That's the expectation on a year-in, year-out basis. Is that fair to describe it that way?
Exactly correct. Exactly
they weren't eliminated from anything this weekend.
Right.
Doesn't mean they can't make the NCAA tournament. Doesn't mean they can't go win the SEC, any of those things.
Well, but the next layer to this, it's not just that they lost the series. I don't mean to be callous about it. It's awful for the young man, but they didn't just lose the series. They lost Landon Sims, possibly for the season as well. So on top of having bullpen issues, which they clearly have, they lost Landon Sims possibly for the year. That magnifies the start so much more because you expected to win a whole lot of Friday nights in the SEC with that dude on the mound.
You just have no momentum. You wanted some momentum rolling into this week with Texas Tech, and you have none, and all you have are questions. They need the idea that they didn't need to win that series is preposterous to me.
Yeah,
pull Stephen A. on you there.
Yeah, give me a little more energy if you're going Stephen A.
It's preposterous, Richard.
That was better.
Thank you.
That was better. So what's ahead? 2 games this week against Texas Tech. 6 o'clock start on Tuesday, 5 o'clock start on Wednesday in Biloxi. And then a 3-game series with Princeton next weekend in Starkville. I'll be honest with you, I don't know anything about Princeton. Just shooting straight. We'll do a little digging. We'll know more by the end of the week. Yeah, I mean, yes, thank you. I'm aware that it's an Ivy League school.
I looked last week, their RPI.
They have not won a game this year. They have lost 4 games to Purdue. They lost to VCU. And they have losses to William & Mary and Richmond as well.
Okay.
So they're not good. Better sweep. Need to be 4-1 this week.